To discuss the vote is Congressman Khanna, a strong critic of the war in Yemen. He introduced the amendment to the defense bill in the House back in September, where it passed. Congressman, welcome back to the show. I know you're in the middle of votes, so we'll get straight into it. How disappointed are you that 20 Democrats in the Senate sided with the Republicans and voted down this important resolution? 20 Democrats voted to continue providing arms to Saudi Arabia.
Mehdi, I'm very disappointed. I don't understand what hold the Saudis have of the United States Congress. This is very simple. We should not be selling arms to the Saudis until they continue the blockade, until they continue the bombing in Yemen. This is the second arms sale that has been approved under the Biden administration. President Biden pledged not to have any arms sales as a candidate, and we are complicit in this war. We armed the Saudis. That's what facilitated the conflict. We have leverage over the Saudis. If we said we're going to stop these arms sales, we're going to stop having spare parts, we can get them to stop the war and have some chance at peace.
Congressman, what's your response to Senator Chris Murphy's vote? You two have worked together for years now, along with Senator Mike Lee and Bernie Sanders, to help end U.S. support for the Saudi-led war in Yemen. You passed a resolution in 2019, all of you, that Trump vetoed. What do you say to Chris Murphy, who's saying now that this is just for defensive weapons?
Well, I have tremendous respect and admiration for Chris Murphy. He's been a leading voice on Yemen, but here I just respectfully disagree. First of all, these missiles help the Saudis in enforcing the blockade. It allows them to threaten the airspace and is used as one of the justifications for the blockade. Second, until we stop the arms sales, whether they're defensive or offensive, we basically are giving the Saudis carte blanche to continue the bombing. And the point is, they're still bombing Yemeni civilians. They're still engaged in the blockade. Now, people say the Houthis are launching missiles into the Saudi kingdom. That is absolutely true. The Houthis are not innocent actors. But we have no leverage over the Houthis, and we have no complicity with the Houthis. We do have leverage and complicity with the Saudis. And so we have to stop the Saudis from engaging in an offensive war.
I want to play to you a clip of Joe Biden speaking at a debate in 2019. Have a listen.
And I would make it very clear, we were not going to, in fact, sell more weapons to them. We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
Joe Biden said he would make Saudi Arabia a pariah. We can say definitively now that that was a lie.
Well, he has not followed through on that. I am still hopeful that he will. Look, this is the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world. And if you care about justice, if you care about human rights, if you care about women and children starving, you should care about ending this war. The United States can end this war. Let's be very clear. If we could ground the Saudi Air Force to a halt tomorrow. That was the amendment that passed the House. Senator Sanders sponsored it. It was stripped. The administration could do it tomorrow, and they would force then the Saudis to acknowledge what everyone realizes. The Saudis have lost the war, and there would be an ability to get peace in Yemen. No one, again, is saying that the Houthis are blameless. What we're saying is it's time for the foreign interference to end. The U.S. facilitated this war by supporting the Saudis. We need to stop facilitating this war till the Saudis reverse their actions.
So, Congressman, where do your efforts go next? Because despite this shameful result last night in the Senate, there has been huge progress there, it seems. I know it sounds weird, but there has. A majority of Senate Democrats came out in support of the resolution to stop the arms sale. That's largely thanks to activism, to media reporting, to lawmakers like yourself. Where does the anti-Yemen war, anti-selling arms to Saudi Arabia coalition go from here?
Well, we have to continue to build the activism, and I give all the credit to the activism and the grassroots activists for the war powers resolution that Senator Sanders and I passed during the Trump administration that led to the voluntary suspension of refueling, that led to the president at least formally stopping refueling. But look, I've said, and Senator Sanders and others have said, that a war powers resolution is on the table. If there is no concrete action for the Saudis to stop the blockade, and to stop this offensive bombing, then we're going to have to consider that again. But what I can tell you is I've been working on this for 5 years, as have many of the activists and many members of Congress. We're not giving up. We're pushing forward, and we have said that a war powers resolution may be on the table.
What do you say to people in your party who say, you're right, we do as a country have leverage over Saudi Arabia, and that's why we're selling them weapons, to maintain that leverage. Otherwise, we'll send them into the arms of Russia and China. We'll have even less control over them in this war.
I think they're factually inaccurate. It would take the Saudis 5 to 10 years to switch over to a Chinese or Russian weapon system. So it's just not true that they can suddenly go into China or Russia's hands. The reality is we would be doing, frankly, the Saudis a favor by having them recognize that they've lost a war. It took us 20 years to get out of Afghanistan. The Saudis have lost a war. They need to withdraw, and we'd be actually helping them see the reality.
One last question before I let you go, Congressman, on defense spending more broadly. The House yesterday passed the annual defense spending bill, which clocked in at nearly $770 billion in a 363 to 70 vote. How come we didn't have a national debate about that number? No talk about the deficit or debt it would lead to, the inflation it might cause. Where was the CBO score that the moderates were waiting for? How come we can sign off on trillions of dollars of defense spending over a decade with no public outcry, negotiation, etc.?
Well, to put it in context, Mehdi, it's $770 billion, highest spending, higher than the Cold War, than at the peak of the Cold War, $770 billion a year compared to the Build Back Better, which would be $175 billion a year. And a lot of it is on legacy defense. It's not even on the defense that we need in a 21st century, like cybersecurity or underwater submarines or space. It is on aircraft carriers and on a force that isn't even relevant in all times to the modern challenges. So it's very frustrating. It's enriching defense contractors, but there was no debate. And we need to have a real debate about what is the modern defense posture and what would be smart defense policy.
What message does that send to Democratic voters in the run-up to the midterms if you end 2021 as a party passing a $770 billion defense budget but unable to pass the Build Back Better bill?
It sends a message that we shouldn't have two chambers and a president and add to the defense budget that Donald Trump had. We've increased it, and that we ought to go back to Obama-Biden policies where the defense was still very strong, modern-looking, but not on buying into the Trump worldview. So I'm disappointed. I'm not going to justify it, but I can tell you that there were many progressives who opposed it, who voted no, and that movement is growing. Most Americans in this country are war-weary. They want us to build America, not build our military overseas.
Congressman Khanna, I know you're in between votes. We appreciate you taking time out for us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.